All right, it's 7:30, so I guess we should get started. Thanks a lot. You made a real big dent in the food. Appreciate it. All right. My name's Greg Hale. People who were here on Monday, I forgot to say that. I'm really bad. I'm used to just getting in front of class and talking because people already know who I am. I'm on the board of directors, and I'm the chair for the committee that's running the search for our executive director of schools. So I guess that makes me the person that draws the short straw for this duty too. So we're going to hear from our second finalist for the position. Again, like Monday, moderated Q&A, so if you have questions, we have to run all the questions by our HR specialist so we don't break any laws. This is part of an interview process. So there are slips back there and slips up here. If you have a question you'd like asked, please fill out the slip, turn it in. If questions are asked, if multiple questions are asked about the same topic, we'll make sure we ask those first so we make sure to get to it. Our candidate today is Dr. Nauyokas. He has been in education since the late 80s, I believe 88, and started in Community ISD, which is, what, Collin County, is that correct?
Sure, that is.
Okay, in 1997. He started as an assistant principal, progressed to principal, upper administration, and eventually the superintendent. It was about a decade as superintendent, maybe not quite, 7 years.
I'll tell him all that.
I'll be quiet, let him take it.
Thank you, Greg. Thank y'all for being here tonight. This is kind of unique, a little different than any interview I've ever been on. Well, actually, I haven't been on an interview in 13 years. So back when I went on a lot of interviews, we didn't have a whole public forum for doing it. But what I'm going to do tonight is just tell you a little bit about myself, some of the things I believe in, some of the things I think, some things I care about. And then, as Dr. Hale said, there's going to be a moderated question and answer. So I'm going to let him take care of that. But Aaron, if you'll help me out. Oh, you're already there. A little bit about me. I've been in education 23 years. The last 7, I've been a superintendent. I've also been assistant superintendent for 3 years. I was a high school principal for 3 years. I was an assistant principal for a year, and I taught for 9 years. I was also a coach at that point in time. My education, I have a doctorate from Texas A&M University in Commerce. But my doctorate was in educational leadership. I have a superintendent certification from East Texas State University in Commerce. Same school, just under the A&M branch now. I have my master's degree with a mid-management in education. That's my principal certification. That was from East Texas State. And I got my bachelor's degree from Midwestern State University, and that's in Wichita Falls, Texas. Anyone know where Wichita Falls is? Okay. Some more personal information about me. I've been married 31 years to my wonderful wife, Tammy. She is, actually I met her here when we were going to school at UTA. So I have some ties to UTA and some fond memories. She's a middle school principal. I have 2 children. My son, Jeremy, he's 28 years old. He is lives in Rockwall, works for oil and gas. He does oil and gas appraisals. My daughter, Jory, she just got married this summer. So I'm a proud parent of a married daughter. Those of you that have young kids now, when you get to that point, the time leading up to the wedding is extremely stressful. But once you get to the wedding, it's all good. So Jory, she's a second grade teacher. She's been teaching for 3 years. She loves it. She's got 2 more semesters, and she'll be finishing her master's in counseling. So we have some educators in our family. Her husband, as a matter of fact, is a high school history teacher. He's a coach as well. So we got a lot of roots in education. That's what we do. We love to be in schools. We love kids. That's the exciting part of everything. A little more about me. I like fitness. I like to stay healthy. I like to eat right. Walking, jogging, doing fitness things. I'm a kind of a DIY person. I like to build things. There's no better stress reliever than get out there with a 2x4, a bunch of nails, and a hammer. And you can relieve a lot of stress. Ladies, you can do it too. But no, I like to build things. I like to garden. I will help my wife plant flowers out in front and out in back, but what I like to do is I like to rototill a 15 by 25 square foot area and put in something I can eat if I'm going to work that hard. So I like to do edible gardens. I like to be outside. I like outdoor activities. Anything I can do where I can run around with my kids and hopefully grandkids now my daughter's married someday. That's what I like. I can sum myself up pretty easily. I'm an honest person. I work hard, and I'm going to do the right thing. Even when it's a hard thing to do, that's me. So if you want it in 3 short little sentences, that's what I do. This is my philosophy on education, and this is what I've believed for 23 years now. My first year, these are the thoughts and these are the things that I felt were important to me. And I believe that an education program should be designed in a way that all students will be able to realize their maximum potential. And that's what y'all are trying to do here. Get them to reach their maximum potential. And in an area and do things that'll make them successful for their future. We don't know what their future is going to be, especially if they're in first grade. But we need to give them all the skills we can. We need to keep it engaging so that they want to come to school, that they want to learn. And from talking to the parents in this room so far, that sounds like what's happening. The kids are learning at a high level, and they want to come to school. The parents seem to like it. Maybe it's because you sent the kids here. But it seems like it's working. I also believe that students can learn at a high level when instruction is presented in an engaging, caring manner with expectations for students to reach those levels. And I think that's what you believe as well, isn't it? Because you made the choice to bring your kids here. And they do teach at a higher level. One of the parents I was talking to has a first grader who's reading at a 3rd grade level. That's higher expectations. Come back, I'm not done with that one yet. You trying to get rid of me, Aaron? This is kind of the most important part of this for me. You can have high expectations in the classroom or extracurricular activities, but the important part about it is you got to let the kids believe in themselves to know that they can reach those goals. I learned that a long time ago when I was coaching. There was a lot of times that I had kids come out on the field that were smaller, they weren't as big, they didn't have the athletic ability that other teams or other kids had, but I believed in those kids. And I told them, I believe in you and we're going to keep working. And we would work hard. And I can't tell you the number of times that we went on the field and we beat other teams that were bigger than us. Because our kids were determined, they were motivated, and they knew I'd be behind them. There was times that we wouldn't win the game. But in the end, if they worked as hard as they could, we still won. We came out ahead because they laid it all out on the field. So I think a kid in their heart, a kid with heart, will outperform kids that have natural ability. And I found that out a long time ago. I tell parents, the community all the time, we need to teach these kids everything we can teach them. We need to give them every opportunity to learn everything they can, because it's not going to be in the too long future that your kids are going to be the ones that are going to be the teachers. I'm seeing that for myself right now. My daughter's a teacher. Pretty soon, your kids will be the ones graduated, and they'll be the teachers. They'll be the ones that are the doctors, the lawyers. They'll be running the state government, the national government. And for selfish reasons, I want them to know everything they can, because they're going to be taking care of me. Think about that. All right, now I'm ready.
All right.
Academics. It's pretty simple. For me, I think we just need to be the best. We need to strive to be the best. If you just come up a little bit short of being the best, you've got high goals, you've got high expectations. I think that's what we need to do. Overall, the scores for ACA are exemplary. You're striving to get there. That's your focus. You're doing what you need to do. I think the classical education style needs to be maintained here. You need to keep those high standards. You need to keep working with the kids. You know, homework's not fun, but if that's what gets you to the next level, that's what you need to do. But we also need to enhance it. We need to find those things that keep them engaged. Think of something that you've done over and over and over. After you do it so many times and so many repetitions, it gets kind of boring, doesn't it? Well, that's what we need to, when I say we need to enhance things. With our education, we need to enhance the way we teach. We need to come up with new things to make it relevant to the kids now and make it engaging. That's very important so that we don't get burned out. That's one reason I got my doctorate, because I love to learn. And I just constantly want to learn more. So I just pushed myself a little more, did a little bit more, because I wanted to. It's enjoyable for me. Parents, we got the STAR test coming up. I'm sure you've been hearing it from the teachers, from the administrators. That's the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness. That's the new test app. It's going to replace the TAKS. It's going to be a lot more rigorous than what the TAKS test was. It's going to go deeper than the TAKS test did. It's going to be more complex. With the exemplary scores and the curriculum that you're using, y'all are going in that direction. There's a lot of schools that are kind of duplicating some of the things you're doing. A lot of schools are starting to use a curriculum that's called C-Scope. Have y'all heard of that from anything? It's a curriculum, but it cycles every 3 years, like this. If you hit a concept in first grade, 3 years later you're going to hit that same concept again and add to it. That's what y'all's education style does as well, the classes, but it's a 4-year cycle. So by the time they get to 12th grade, you want to go through 3 cycles of it and build on it each time. I've hit most of those points. Hold on. I think as long as our teachers are working and have high expectations and use discovery in their lessons where the kids have to really think, they learn a concept, but then they have to do a homework assignment where they have to think and use those things that they've learned, that's when it becomes internalized to them. And that's when they really grasp that knowledge and they start to apply it. I think we need to keep doing that. We got 2 campuses now. That's always a challenge for a school when you open a second elementary school or multiple of the same grade levels. The thing we need to keep in mind, and this is what I believe, is your curriculum has to be the same at both campuses. If you have a first grade at both campuses, both first grades are teaching the same thing. Third grade is teaching the same thing. That's why you chose to be here, because the expectations are higher. The challenges are greater for your kids. They're learning more. So, in my position, what my job would be to keep ACA going true north in what our direction is, and what our goals are, and what our curriculum says we're going to do with it. Both campuses need to be doing the same thing, going the same direction. Now, that being said, there's going to be some differences. When you have these administrators and these teachers and these kids and these parents at one campus, and you have these administrators over here, another set of teachers and different students, there's going to be some personality differences just because you have different people. And that's fine. But curriculum needs to go the same direction. The goals, the philosophy of the school need to go the same direction. That's the way I think, and that's why I live. All right, thanks. One of the last things I want to talk about is caring. You can't have school without caring. And this is a big thing. We need to care about the kids. It doesn't matter if they're at the Arkansas campus. It doesn't matter if they're at the Bowman campus. We need to care about the kids. And I heard many of you parents talking about the teachers. They already care about these kids. I've heard it several times in the short time that I was here, 30 minutes talking to y'all. They care about the kids. They didn't become a teacher because they didn't like kids. They care about the kids. We all need to care about the kids. That's the reason we're here. We need to care about the staff. These teachers, they're with your kids 8 hours a day, teaching them, guiding them, modeling for them. They probably are with your kids while they're awake longer than you are. We need to care about the staff because they're an important part of this too. We need to care about each other. The whole group of us need to care about each other. What's going on this campus? What's going on that campus? How do we keep it all together? When you do those things, that's what creates your community. That's what creates your pride. That's what creates your heart. Those are the things that make you unique. Those are the things that make Arlington Classics Academy, Arlington Classics Academy. Those are the things we need to think about. And those are the things we need to do. Another thing that we're doing when we're all taking care of each other is we're modeling for the kids. When the kids see us taking care of each other, when the parents come in as volunteers and are working in the schools, that says that's important to them. The kids see that. The kids feel that. You're modeling exactly the way you want them to grow up. It's fantastic. We need to keep that going. And the last thing on my area for caring is communication. We all need to talk to each other. Lines of communication need to be open. And it doesn't matter if you're at the Arkansas campus or the Bowen campus, we all need to talk. When I work with staffs on in-service days, we come together so that both campuses' first grades can work together, so that they can hear the same message from the same place. So we're all going the same direction. So communication is huge. From administrators to teachers, from teachers to parents, from parents to teachers. I have an open door policy. You can come talk to me anytime you want. Now, I might not give you everything you want all the time, but I'll listen. For my conclusion, I've been doing this a long time. I love kids. It's what I do. I know there's some things going on. The state dealt every school district in the state a harsh deal last year with funding. So I know funding is always an issue for schools. There's ways to work around that. There's things we can do. There's things we can work with to make it all right. I've done that before, and I can do it again. But I would love the opportunity to come here, work with y'all. I think I met everyone in this room so far. Shook hands with everybody but Judy. Don't shake hands with Judy. She's not feeling very well. Doesn't want to give you a COVID. But I think we have a question and answer section. So, Mr. Hale.
Okay. All right. Let me put the projector on. Warning, I need to turn the lights on. Okay. All right, so let's go with the first question strand. We had a strand about determining the effectiveness of the campuses and the campus leadership, and how would you determine the effectiveness of each campus and the campus leadership, and how would you decide what changes would need to be made if so?
When I work with campuses, I'm generally on campuses every day. So if I was here, I would be on this campus every day. I'd be walking the halls. I'd be seeing what's going on. I'd be talking to kids. I'd be at the Bowen campus every day, or almost every day. Try to be at both campuses every day. But the way I find out what's going on is I'm there. I'm walking the campuses. I'm seeing what's going on in the classrooms. I might walk into the classrooms. Look over kids' shoulders, see what they're doing. Talk to the kids. That's how I know what's going on the campus. I see how administrators work with teachers. I see how teachers work with administrators. I see how the kids, how they act and what they do. I meet with principals monthly. Sometimes more than that. Sometimes I meet with them all as a group so that they can hear the same thing, have the same message. Sometimes I meet with them individually and we talk about their specific campus. So that's how I do it. When I evaluate principals, I have a checklist, or I have a list of items that I want to go over with, that I go over with every month. It talks about attendance. It talks about discipline. It talks about grades. It talks about what direction are we going. If there's some issues we'll work on, I have those on my sheet. Then the next time I come talk to them, I bring that sheet back. All right, where are we at on this? We talked about this last time. Where are we at? So I get a check. So that's how I do it. And from being open, talking to them a lot, that's how I build a relationship so that we can talk back and forth. So we can get a real dialogue going. So we know, so we can head in the direction we need to go.
Next strand had to do with, I think they were almost all identical, so let's read it. How would you reconcile the requirement to accept students of all ability levels at an open enrollment charter school with the desire to keep academic standards as high in an effort to maintain school ratings?
Well, when I was looking at your, you had a sheet. I can't remember on which campus it was, but one of the campuses has an acknowledgement from the parents that says, we acknowledge that these are the rules. I mean, you're doing that by saying, we know the parents are agreeing that we know that academics are going to be at a higher level here. We know that our kids are going to have a lot of homework. We know. They're agreeing to that when they come. So you're doing that already. Now it's up to the parents and the kids to make sure those things are happening. Now, I was talking to Philip, and he was saying, you know, his kids have homework, and luckily his wife's good at English because she helps with the English homework. So, I mean, the parents have to be involved too. If we don't have parents, if parents aren't involved, that's the downfall of a lot of it. It sounds like from what I've talked to the parents here is y'all are involved. McDonald's, right? They said one of the toughest things is homework, but it gets done. You know, if you want a higher level, you got to work at it. So, I mean, that'd be the expectation for people that want to come to this school.
Okay. So speaking of parent involvement, that was very specific towards homework, but here's a question about how would you utilize parent involvement and volunteering to help make ACA more effective?
Well, I don't know how all the parents are involved currently. I know there's a dad's club. I know we have parent volunteers that come in during the day. I don't know at what level the involvement is. I mean, there might be some after-school programs where we have parents come in and help tutor. If there's an area where kids are lacking some, if a parent has a need or an interest in that, that might be something that we do for homework, where the parents can come in, and if they have a special skill or an aptitude for something, that they come in and lend a hand. Sometimes kids need to just hear the explanation of something a different way for it to click for them and understand. I mean, working with some high school kids, we would have tutorials after school where the kids went to the cafeteria and it was peer tutoring because somebody at the same age, same grade level, taking the same work that understood it could explain it differently than the teacher could, and that clicked for the kid to where they understood how to do the homework. I mean, there's lots of options.
Okay. We had a couple of questions along the lines of what's your approach to leadership?
I think you see it. I'll be one that out there talking. I'll be out at the campuses. I'll probably be in the parking lots opening doors in the mornings. So I'll get to know people. I have an open door policy. If you need to come in and talk, come in and talk. That's my leadership style. I communicate. I read a book just recently. It's called Teach to Your Strengths. Any of the teachers read that? Did y'all take the Gallup poll survey? Okay. They had a Gallup poll survey that went along with it, and it tells you what your strengths are. One of my strengths was ideation, ideas. I love ideas and the thought of ideas and coming up with ideas and taking ideas and breaking them down into small parts. I'm an includer, which is make the circle bigger. If more people want to be able, let's make the circle bigger. Let's don't exclude people, let's make it bigger. I'm an activator. When we need to do something, I'm ready to jump in. I might not have all the answers right now, but we're going to jump in, we're going to get started, and we'll figure it out as we go if we have to. But there's no better time than now to get started. And I'm an achiever, which means every day I've got to accomplish something. I mean, every morning when I wake up, I start running a checklist through my head. All right, what do I got to get done today? So I'm an achiever. I've got to finish something every day. I've got to make that check on the list. That's my personality. And I'm also competitive, so you wouldn't know that since I was a coach.
All right, it's about time for a softball. Let's go with, why did you resign from your last position?
I worked in that district for 13 years. I came there as a high school principal. I did that for 3 years. The school board asked me to become assistant superintendent. I did that for 3 years. And when the superintendent retired, they asked me to become superintendent. The school board that asked me to take that position, that hired me, that we made plans for, set philosophies for, eventually went their own way. They resigned off the board and moved, different things like that. And the board in place, they had different ideas, different philosophies, things of that nature. And instead of changing my philosophies, my ideas, and the way I believe things need to be done, I asked to resign my position. I talked to my board president. I spoke to him about it. Said, these are the things I'm seeing. He says, yeah, I see. Yeah, I see some of those too. And I said, I want to resign my position. Talked to the board. They were in agreement. They gave me a full letter of recommendation saying that they would approve me for any position or recommend me for any position I went for. So that's why I resigned.
Okay. All right, we also had several questions along the lines of unity. The simplest one, I think, is what are some things you could do to promote unity with both campuses?
Well, number one, I'll be on both campuses. So you'll see me out and about. When we do in-service training, when we do trainings, we bring campuses together. That keeps those campuses thinking on the same lines. Those campuses do things together. I mean, there might be service projects where we do them together as a whole. I mean, I've heard of Rachel's Challenge. Okay, you've heard of Rachel's Challenge? I mean, it's a service project that you can do as a district as a whole, a campus. Everybody works together for it. You have to find those types of things that bring everybody together. So you're doing a service project, both campuses are working together on it, and kids get to see you modeling community service and service to others. So you can do things like that. I think I saw on one of the campuses there's a gala. What's the gala?
It's for both. It's a major fundraiser.
Okay, it's a major fundraiser. You have a fundraiser where you're all working together already. It's just a lot of communication. It's getting both campuses together. It's doing things together. As professionals, we're going to, do our in-service, our training. We'll do all those things together. We're going to be going the same direction with our curriculum. So that's, in the end, we're all Griffins. Both campuses are Griffins. We're all Griffins. We're all going the same direction. That's what we have to change.
Okay, since you mentioned the gala, what kind of expectations would be placed on ACA staff regarding after-work hours and weekend events like field trips, carnivals, annual gala?
I don't know what's been done in the past, so I don't know what the expectation has been in the past. I think we're all in it together. We all work. We all help out. We all pitch in. Parents pitch in. Staff pitches in. We all pitch in. I mean, I started an education foundation, which was an outside group that raised money for the school. It wasn't a part of the school, but it was part of the school. It had its own board, and we put on galas as well. And we just got a lot of people to donate their time. We'd raise money, and then that money would be given out as grants for the campuses. And then, you know, after we built the principal up enough, we were going to start doing scholarships as well. So if you're in schools, you're not doing it. It's not an 8 to 5-er because you're always grading homework and everything else. So if there's certain things during the year that you have to help out in, you have to help out in. You know, that's just the way schools are.
Okay. A couple of questions along the lines of how do you measure your own effectiveness?
Well, I'll use generally every year I'll have a set of goals that I'll want to accomplish. I go over those with the board. Goals for the school, goals for the district. And then those are the goals I'm working on all year long. I mean, some of them for here would be like community. How can we build community? Some for here would be curriculum. How can we keep our curriculum aligned at both campuses? You know, I was looking through the budget and some different things. I didn't see a whole lot of professional development. I didn't see, you know, where we'd done a whole lot. You know, for me, professional development, keeping on that cutting edge, keeping things new and fresh for teachers. That's something I would want to do. So I usually have goals at the beginning of the year that we try to work through the whole district and work on. And then in the past, the board has been the one that evaluated me. Now this being a charter school, that might be a little different. But the board always has input too.
Okay. What is it about ACA's mission and vision that most appeals to you?
I think I hit it just like y'all hit it. It's having the higher expectations, wanting kids to reach their potential, wanting to be able to be the best. Those are the things. I think my philosophy on education and y'all's mission and vision are hitting those same topics, hitting those same things. That's why y'all chose this school rather than being someplace else.
There were a couple of questions about extracurriculars. So, do you have any plans to allow ACA to include extracurricular activities such as band or sports?
First time I've heard it, so I think those are great components. Now, since you've never had them before, there's costs involved. There would be, you know, all kinds of costs that you weren't used to. But I wouldn't see that being something that would be a deterrent. It might be where it would be an extra fee for sports or band or those things. But I think extracurriculars are great. I think it builds responsibility in kids. It builds a team atmosphere.
Can you give an example from your past of a pressing community issue that affected education? What methods did you use to address the issue, and how was it resolved?
Well, I mean, y'all went through it too, with the state reducing funding. I had meetings on, you know, open forum meetings like this where we would do presentations on where our funding levels were and what the state was saying that they were going to do with our funding for the following year, and let people see that this is what we have now, but this is what we say we're going to get next year. So people were included in the discussion of what was going on. It's communication. It's all communication, getting the word out there, letting people know. People get upset when they don't know what's going on and rumors start. But if you tell them what's going on, they can kind of understand. People understand. So just like you had with the funding issues, we put it out there, what was going on. This is how much money we're going to be short next year. We're going to have to do some things differently. So we started looking at ways to do things differently. And try not to affect the kids as much as possible.
Okay. How would you handle a directive from the board which you strongly disagree with?
I tell them I disagree. If it's something illegal or immoral, I'm not going to do it. I will let it be known in the board meeting that I disagree with this, and if the board chooses to do it, that's the board's decision. But I'm not going to do anything illegal or immoral or unethical. Most of the time, I will give my side of the story, or what I feel is what I see, and tell the board that as well. And it all depends on what the directive is. Directives come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes boards give a directive and it's something very easy to do. So then you just do it. Sometimes it's not so easy, and I'm going to try to do the right thing.
Okay, there were a couple of questions regarding the most pressing issues you think face ACA and how you plan to address them.
Well, I think budget is going to be one of them. Just like all schools throughout the state, budget's an issue for all schools. So the way to address that is get in there, look at the budget, see where we're at, see what we're doing right, what can be more efficient. You can make things more efficient and save money. So you just got to jump in and look things line item by line item, look at everything that's going on and see where you can make things more efficient. I mean, I heard the janitor say that he had the air in here at 69 degrees. Maybe we don't need to have 69 degrees. Maybe it needs to be 70, 71. Over time, it makes a difference. There's little things. You just got to jump in and come up with ideas.
Okay, what are your views on classical education?
I think I hit on that earlier. I think what you're doing is a good curriculum style. Other schools are trying to jump on that bandwagon a little bit with some of the curriculum programs they're putting in. The classical style, every 4 years, it comes back around again. It's in a cycle. They're going, to a lot of curriculums that are going 3 years. So the style of classical education is very good. It's working. It's working for you. It's working for the teachers. Having high expectations, there's nothing wrong with having high expectations. One of the other books I was reading was, it was in that same book, Teach With Your Strengths. If people have a strength, if your teachers have a strength, let them use that strength. So many schools have been saying, no, we don't want you doing it that way. We need you to do it this other way. Well, that dulls down what a teacher's really good at. And it makes them mediocre. So you take a teacher that is fantastic with relating to kids, but you say, no, we don't want you, building those relationships with those kids. We want you to do it a different way. So they tone that down and they become a little bit more mediocre. Or they are fantastic at explanations. And you tell them, no, we don't want you to just talk and lecture all the time. We want the kids to do it. We want you to give to it and do it. Well, that dulls them down. There might be somebody that's great with technology and they use it all the time. But if all the other teachers aren't doing it and we're not doing it, then we've got an issue. That teacher's not doing what makes them so good. So I think we need to let teachers use their skills and use their attributes the best they can if it's making a positive effect on kids. Now, if they're not teaching, they're doing their what I call love units. I love to teach about dinosaurs. But it's not in the curriculum, and it's not in the text, then, that's something different. They're not teaching what we need to teach. It might be that, we're saying, just because you like dinosaurs doesn't mean We need to teach about dinosaurs all the time. We need to teach the curriculum.
All right. Do you believe in or would you implement a gifted and talented program?
I think anytime you can have kids work harder and excel and do additional things, yes. It's awesome. I think I looked on one of y'all's websites. One of the campuses is going to a private school academic meet. Okay?
PSIA. PSIA.
That's it. That's it. So, I mean, right there, you got kids that are wanting to excel, wanting to do more. If you have a gifted and talented program, you know, along with it, that just leads to more of those things. But with, you know, you have an accelerated academic program as is.
How much homework is appropriate for ACA students in a given week?
I don't have an answer to that.
Did not come from McDonald's.
I mean, my son never brought a book home. Made A's, top 10 in his class. My daughter, 4 hours every night she was doing homework. Same household, same genes. She was also in the top of her class. Just two different kids. Same teachers. You know, I can answer that question. You know, if the goal is we're going to have high standards for the kids, we're going to do advanced academics, and it takes the homework to do that, then we have to do the homework. But how much is too much? I don't know. All the kids are different. You can't set a finite number, 2 hours. Well, they might not get it done in 2 hours.
How much experience do you have in school finance and specifically charter school finance?
Charter school finance, 0. Public school finance, I've been a superintendent 7 years and an assistant superintendent for 3. I took a school district, when I took over, they had $528,000 in their fund balance. If they went one more year, they would have 0 fund balance. When I left, they had almost $4 million in their fund balance. I can work finance. It's not always pretty, but it works. I mean, we have to be efficient. We have to look at all the things we do and be efficient. Cut the air conditioner, 71 degrees.
Oh, you're under 71 now.
I mean, it's just things like that. One thing that I've been able to do is I've always been able to find the people and put them in the right place, put them in the right position that they could do their job and do it well. I hope you have a key. So, yeah, I know school finance. I've been in a situation in a school district where it was low on funds, and 7 years later we had, actually the state was saying if you didn't designate some of that, you had too much money in fund balance. School districts had superior ratings for the last 4 or 5 years. That's the highest you can get on the first rating, financial integrity rating system in Texas. I got lots of friends I can call. You belong to Regional 11, Educational Service Center. They have finance people. They can help out too. Just phone calls. Phone calls and meetings.
What would be your vision of the perfect learning environment, and how could you help make this happen?
I think the perfect learning environment, from my educational philosophy, would be where the teachers, the parents, the administrators, and the students all wanted to be their best, to work to do their best, to strive to do their best, to have high expectations with parents and teachers that back them up, that believe in them, and help them to reach those potentials. How would I do that? Just like I'm doing with y'all. I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk the talk. I'm going to be on the campuses. I'm going to be in the classrooms. I'm going to be walking around. I'm going to see what's going on and listen to y'all and work. Is there a magic bullet? No. Can we work hard? Yes.
How would you address a teacher or administrator who wants to lower academic standards on the basis that too many students would be unable to perform at that high a level?
We'd have to look at the academic standards first. Are they too high? We don't know. We'd have to look at the academic standards and see what we've done in the past. Have kids been able to reach it in the past? If they've been able to reach it in the past, we ought to be able to reach it now. Do we need to enhance what we're doing? Do we need to do it a little bit differently? Do we need to take a different look at it? Maybe that's what we need to do, it a little bit different way so that it engages the kids a little bit more. Do we want to become substandard? No. I don't think so. I don't think you want substandard. If every one of y'all sitting out there, parents, teachers, you want your kids to do as well or better than you did. Am I correct? Okay. Then we need to make sure that the standards are high enough. That they can do as good or better than we do.
Why did you apply for this position?
I applied for this position because there's not a whole lot of superintendent's positions open right now in this area. When I was telling you about myself, my wife, my son, my daughter, we all live within 15 minutes of each other. My mother is 25 minutes from my house. My brother-in-law is 20 minutes from my house. My sister is 15 minutes from my house. I have a brother that's in Coppell. So, for me, family is important. And I want to stay in this area where I can be close to my family because I do a lot with my family. That's why I applied for this position, because it's in this area. And it's a director's position, and it's in a school, and I like schools, and I like kids.
Do you believe in data-driven instruction? And can you give examples of how you've used data to drive instruction in the past?
Yes, I mean, data is what we live on. We do benchmarks all the time to see if what we're teaching, the kids are understanding. And if they're not, if the benchmarks aren't hitting the numbers we want, we look at the test questions and we say, all right, they're not getting this question. Why aren't they getting this? We go back and we reteach it. That's how we get kids to understand. The data tells us if they're understanding or not. Teachers do a daily check. When they're teaching their class and looking around, they're looking at the kids to see if they're getting it, see if they're understanding. But then you do the benchmarks as well to see if once they get all the problems out there in a row and it's in a test situation, are they still getting it? You can get it for a one-time thing, but are they committed to memory? Are they being able to apply it later on? You do the benchmarks, and you take that data and you use that to help the kids. Because if somebody is not understanding something and you see it on the benchmarks, you have an opportunity to correct that, to give them some additional help in that area. So yeah, I believe in data, and we use it all the time for testing. That's how you know if the kids are understanding.
What is your problem-solving method, and why do you believe this method is successful?
What kind of problem?
Let's see, Donovan, what kind of problem?
Just any kind of problem. How do you approach, when you approach a problem, what's the steps that you take to approach that problem?
Well, depending on, okay, say you come into my office and say, I got a problem. All right, Donovan, what's the problem? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to you. and see what you have to say. And you tell me what that is. Now, if it happens to be with something with one of the campuses, then I've got to go do some research with that campus and see what's going on. I mean, there's two sides to every story. But maybe a problem for you may be a miscommunication. It may be a problem with homework. That your child's not doing their homework or didn't get their homework. Well, let's research that and find out what's really going on. Is it a problem with our data? Is our data coming back funny? Well, let's go back to the test, look at the questions, and see if we're misstating questions. If it's a problem with our finances, let's look at each line item, see where they're at. Is this something we really do and we really need? Can we do this more efficiently? And do we need that much money in that fund? Or can we take some money out of that fund, but this other one we really need and we really want to push and move it over to the other one? It depends on the situation. It depends on the problem. Every problem is different. So I want to get a full picture of it first. So for me, I want to see the whole picture. And then, depending on if it's at a campus or at the central office or whatever it is, go from there. Does that kind of answer your question?
All right, you already had mentioned the foundation idea, but if you had any other ideas or could elaborate on that, the question is about other avenues to maintain funding levels in times when the state's decreasing our funding.
I mean, we set up payroll deductions where people have payroll deductions taken from their check. I mean, $5 out of my check a month, I might not notice. But if we've got 1,000 kids, every kid, one of their parents get $5, that's quite a bit every month. I mean, that's, what, 3 Cokes? You go out and buy 3 Cokes? I mean, there's things like that. We had an education foundation. We did a gala. We would have a dinner, and we tried to get somebody to sponsor the dinner. Dinner was sponsored. All the food was actually free for us. So all the tickets that we sold to come to the gala was profit that went into our education foundation. We would have people would donate silent auction items, similar to what y'all do. All that money would go into the education foundation. So some of the same things you're doing, we would do. Kids would sell magazines as fundraisers, you know, for their campus. We went into their campus fund, things like that. So it just depends on what you want to do. There's lots of things you can do.
Okay. Questions about the format of 2 elementaries feeding 1 middle school. Do you feel that's a good format, or do you recommend we change it up and have a lower and an upper campus?
Depends on your numbers. Depends on your facilities. Do you have 3 campuses? We have 2. So it would depend on your facilities. It would depend on your numbers. If you have 2 elementaries that are good-sized elementaries that feed a middle school, your numbers are going to be bigger at your middle school. But you have to have 2 elementaries feeding that. So it depends on your facilities. If you don't have facilities where you have 2 elementaries that feed a middle school, or if you're just saying, well, let's use the campuses that we have now and set up a middle school of 1, then you got to see where you got the room. It depends on facilities. I'm assuming the question is kind of leading to the point is if this was an elementary school and over at Bowen there was an elementary school and the middle school campus would be over there. I think that's where the question is leading. I mean, with the facilities that you currently have, that seems legitimate. But there again, this is my first time to meet y'all. I don't have all the answers for you specifically right now. It takes looking at all the facilities. It takes looking at all your numbers. It takes a lot more than just a question. So
that's funny. I thought the board decided that in like 3 minutes, didn't it? It was months.
Years.
All right.
I mean, yeah.
How do you handle school politics?
Just like this. Can you live with this? Somebody that'll talk to you? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Okay. I like to talk. I like to communicate. So that's how I deal with school politics. Now, I know the internet's out there, and there's going to be people that say this or say that, and it's not true. I can't help that. People do those things. The internet is a wonderful thing, but it's also a terrible thing. And, I mean, the best way for, if you want to know an answer, ask me. If I can give you an answer, I'll give it to you. You know? It may be the first time I've heard of something. And I'll say, well, I don't know, that's the first I've heard of that. It's honest. I can only tell you what I know. But politics within schools, you always have them. But if we all have the same idea, this is the curriculum we're going to teach, this is the way we're going to teach it, and we're all going the same direction, we're all heading the same way. So, I mean, there ought to be a way to work it out and talk about it. If building community is what ACA needs, then let's work on ways to build community. Let's get together and build a community. Let's do some service projects together. Let's have, instead of, breaking apart to do things, let's do things together. Any school that has multiple campuses goes through this. You're not unique. It happens everywhere. There's always a little bit of a competition. So the idea is keep it all going the same direction. Keep lines of communication open. Principals plan together so that they know what the other campus is doing. When we do in-service training, teachers work together. So first grade at one campus knows what's going on first grade at the other one. Just keep communication open.
Okay, and we have time for one last question, and it's a good summary question. What strengths do you bring to the school, its faculty, and students?
Strengths, I've had a lot of years in education. My strength is I do this for kids. I'm about kids. I want kids to be successful. I like working with people. I mean, it was funny when I read that book and took that survey, and it says I'm an includer. I like to make the circle bigger. That's what I do. That's how I help people. If I can get this side of the room working with this side of the room, that's a good thing. All these people in the middle, they're perfect already. This is out inside. But no, I talk to people. I think we've had a pretty good conversation here tonight. I'm doing all the talking. I just see heads nodding. So.
Okay, well, that's a wrap for the Q&A session. You have an opportunity to thank our candidate. Reminder, we will be doing this again on Monday back at the Bowen campus. Looks like there's a lot of food left. Please
everybody eat a cookie.
All right. See you on Monday.